"I will sacrifice myself," he declared, his voice filled with determination. "I will love the princess as a partner and will never compromise her feelings." His words shocked everyone, including the king and queen, who could hardly believe the extent of Obi's devotion to their daughter. "No, Obi," Ola said, shaking her head. "You are a good man. You don't need to sacrifice your happiness for me." But Obi disagreed. "You are my happiness. I have always loved you and will not mind sacrificing my happiness to see you free from this curse. I don't need you to love me back, all I need is your presence beside me. My love for you will be enough for both of us." The king and queen watched this exchange with pain in their hearts. They were unable to believe the depth of Obi's love and the lengths he would go to for their daughter's happiness. Deeply moved and grateful, Ola promised to always stay by Obi's side. "I have loved you deeply, Obi," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "Your love has been my happiness. Now, hearing everything, I feel a mix of sadness and gratitude. But I promise, I will always stay by your side." At that moment, the great spellcaster stepped forward. His presence commanded attention, and his voice was both solemn and hopeful as he explained that the only way to break the spell was to go to the foot of the mountain and call for the spirit of Mother Earth to accept the sacrifice for Ola's spirit. He warned that the journey would be arduous, but with love and determination, they could succeed. The room fell silent again as the weight of the task ahead settled upon them. Obi looked at Ola, his expression unwavering. "They could do this," he assured her softly. With Ola still in his arms, felt a newfound determination. She had always relied on her inner strength, and now, with Obi's unwavering love and support, she believed they could face the challenge ahead. She nodded firmly, agreeing with him. The king and queen, though fearful, stood resolute. They had witnessed the power of love and sacrifice and were ready to support their daughter in this final effort to break the curse. The great spellcaster, having explained the steps, gathered his materials and prepared for the journey. The royal family and Obi steeled themselves for what lay ahead. The queen spoke softly, affirming that they would do this together and that Ola was not alone. Her father nodded in agreement, adding that they would face this challenge as a family. As they left the chambers, a sense of hope, tinged with apprehension, filled the air. Together, they would face the trials ahead, determined to break the curse and restore happiness to their beloved Ola. With the decision made, they all embarked on the journey to the foot of the mountain with the great spellcaster leading the way, guiding the royal family and Obi through the dense forest and rugged terrain. The journey was arduous, the path steep and treacherous, but their resolve did not waver. The air grew colder and thinner as they ascended, and the gravity of their mission weighed heavily on each of them. Obi walked beside Ola, their hands intertwined, drawing strength from each other. Concerned for her, he asked if she was all right. She nodded, though her breath came in shallow gasps, insisting that she was fine as long as he was with her. Upon reaching the foot of the mountain, the spellcaster began his preparations. He drew intricate symbols on the ground, chanted ancient incantations, and called out to the spirit of Mother Earth with great effort, doing all he could to summon her presence. Obi knelt with the princess by his side, holding a calabash pot in his hands. Ola's parents and the spellcaster stood behind them, their faces etched with hope and apprehension. The ritual took on a life of its own, the air shimmering with the power of the incantations. When the chants reached their peak, the ground trembled slightly, and a soft, ethereal glow enveloped the area. Mother Earth had arrived. Obi took a deep breath, his voice steady but filled with emotion as he introduced himself. "Great Mother Earth, I am Obi, a humble servant of this land. Thank you for appearing before us and for hearing our plea for your help in breaking this curse," Obi began, his voice trembling with emotion yet unwavering in its conviction. He took a moment to steady himself, feeling the weight of the task at hand. "I have known great pain in my life, losing both my mother and father on the same day. Their loss left a void in my heart, one that seemed impossible to fill." Ola's hand tightened around his, offering silent support. He drew a deep breath, glancing at her briefly before continuing. "In my darkest moments, when hope seemed a distant memory, I found light and joy in the princess. She brought hope and meaning back into my life. Her presence was like a beacon in the night, guiding me through my grief. I have grown to love her desperately, not for what she can give me, but for who she is. Her kindness, her strength, her beauty, they all captivated my heart. Her happiness and the breaking of this spell are my only priorities, even if it means I must sacrifice my own desires. Mother Earth listened intently, her presence both calming and powerful. Obi could feel her ancient wisdom and compassion enveloping him, giving him the courage to speak from the depths of his heart. Great Mother Earth, the love I have for Ola is not just a fleeting emotion. It is a part of my very soul. I am willing to give everything I have and everything I am, to see her free from this curse. My life has been filled with sorrow, but her love has brought me back from the brink of despair. She is my light, my reason for being, and I cannot bear to see her suffer any longer. There were times when I felt utterly alone, when the darkness seemed all-consuming. But Ola's love pulled me back, gave me a reason to keep going. I realized that my happiness is intertwined with hers. If she is not free, then I can never truly be free either. I stand before you, not as a hero, but as a man who loves deeply and selflessly. Please, I beg of you, break this curse and let us be free. Mother Earth remained silent for a moment, allowing Obi's words to hang in the air. The silence was almost unbearable, but it was filled with a sense of anticipation and hope. Finally, her voice resonated through the air, deep and compassionate. Obi, you are indeed a great man, the purest of heart in this entire village. Your love for the princess is boundless and selfless, far beyond what many could ever dream of giving. You have accepted her without boundaries, willing to sacrifice your own happiness for hers. Such love is rare and powerful. A gentle breeze swept through the mountain, carrying her words with it. Because of the purity of your heart and the depth of your love, there will be no need for any further sacrifice. Your love alone is sufficient to break the spell. I will free the princess from this curse, for your love is the greatest gift she could ever receive. Tears welled up in Obi's eyes as he bowed his head in gratitude. Thank you, Great Mother Earth, he said, his voice trembling with emotion. Thank you for your kindness and mercy. You have given us a gift beyond measure. Turning to Ola, he embraced her tightly. She felt a strange sensation, as if a weight was lifting from her spirit. Suddenly, she was overcome with fatigue, leaning heavily on Obi as she whispered her thanks to Mother Earth. He held her close, whispering reassurances in her ear, feeling the bond between them strengthen even further. As they held each other, the spellcaster, the king, and the queen looked on in awe. The ethereal glow that had surrounded them began to fade, replaced by a warm, natural light that seemed to radiate from within them. The curse, which had shadowed Ola's life for so long, was finally broken. They all felt a profound sense of relief and joy. The journey back to the village was filled with a newfound sense of peace and unity. They walked in joy, their bond stronger than ever. Obi glanced at Ola, his eyes filled with love and admiration. She smiled back at him, her heart overflowing with gratitude and happiness. The royal family and Obi departed back to the palace with renewed hope and relief. As Obi carried the princess in his arms, she slept soundly, her exhaustion evident but her face peaceful. The king and queen followed closely behind, their hearts lighter than they had been in a long time. Walking alongside them, the great spellcaster felt a sense of accomplishment. His mission had been successful. Upon their return to the palace, the spellcaster ensured that Ola was well before preparing to take his leave. The king and queen, profoundly grateful, presented him with gifts carried by guards as a token of their appreciation. Thank you for everything you have done, the king said solemnly, his voice thick with emotion. You have given us back our daughter. The spellcaster bowed respectfully. It was an honor to serve your family, he replied, his tone humble yet proud. With that, he departed from the palace, heading back to the mountain where he lived. Inside the palace, the atmosphere had transformed. The shadow of the curse had lifted, and a sense of peace and joy filled the halls. As Ola awoke in Obi's arms, she smiled up at him, her heart overflowing with gratitude and love. Obi, she whispered, her voice tender and full of emotion, you have saved me. Your love has saved me. He kissed her forehead gently, his eyes filled with warmth. We saved each other, he responded softly. Together, we are stronger than any curse. Late that night, the king paced through the grand halls of the palace, his heart heavy with regret. The events of the past months weighed on him, and his actions, driven by anger and neglect, now seemed foolish and petty. These feelings had kept him awake at night, gnawing at his conscience. Yet, seeing his wife and daughter happy and united, he felt genuine happiness for the first time. He realized that family and love should always come first. Instead of misunderstanding and harboring anger, he should have communicated with his wife. Determined to make amends, he made his way to the Queen's chamber. As he entered, he found her resting, a look of peace on her face that he hadn't seen in years. His heart ached for all the pain he had caused. Taking a deep breath, he approached her, his voice soft but filled with remorse. "My queen, I am truly sorry for all the pain I have caused you. My anger and neglect were unjust, and I regret not speaking to you sooner." The queen, waking up from her sleep by the familiar voice of her husband and seeing the sincerity in his eyes, forgave him without hesitation. "We have both made mistakes," she said, embracing him warmly. "But it is never too late to make things right." Together, they resolved to seek forgiveness from their daughter and unite their family once more. Walking hand in hand, they went to Ola's chamber. The king's heart pounded as he knelt before his daughter, tears in his eyes. "Ola, I am so sorry for everything. I never knew what Mother Earth intended for you, but I have learned my lesson. No amount of anything can ever be exchanged for our family's love." Ola, overwhelmed by her father's apology, looked at her mother, who had also been distant. The queen, tears streaming down her face, apologized to her daughter. "I was so afraid, my dear. I love you more than anything, and I am sorry for not showing it." The family, now more united than ever, included Obi in their embrace. As they lived happily in the palace, the king knew it was time to right the wrongs of his past. In the days that followed, Obi approached Ola's parents, asking for permission to marry their daughter. He clearly stated his intentions, which were met with joy and approval. After receiving their blessing, he proposed to Ola with a broad smile on his face. A glimmer of joy spread through Ola's heart as she realized that Obi still accepted her, despite everything. Mother Earth had broken the curse to set him free from a woman who couldn't reciprocate his feelings, yet he chose to marry her regardless of her past. This decision wasn't about mere friendship anymore. As Ola watched Obi express his desire to marry her, she felt unworthy of a man like him. His love and acceptance left her conflicted. Seeing the contemplation in her eyes, Obi's heart sank. He watched as she excused herself, guilt evident in her eyes. Although he felt a twinge of sadness, he encouraged himself. "She didn't say no to your proposal, Obi," he reminded himself, nodding in an attempt to calm his nerves. He silently acknowledged that a lot had happened recently. Perhaps the proposal was too soon and overwhelming. He decided to give Ola the time she needed to heal from the past and understand herself better. Sitting on her mother's bed, Ola couldn't bear the sadness in her heart. She poured out her feelings to her mother, saying, "I don't think I am deserving of a man like Obi. He is a great man with a bright future and a heart as pure as gold. I don't think I need such perfection. I had dreamed of ending up with him, but when Mother Earth said he was the purest of heart in the entire village, I realized I am not worthy of a man like him." Her mother, seeing her daughter depreciate herself, couldn't bear it. She held Ola's hands tightly and looked into her eyes, signaling her to stop. "Father plans on stepping down as king," Ola said, crying. "It's only right for a man like Obi to rule as the next king, for he has the best interests of the people at heart, and I don't feel I deserve such a man. Royalty will be leaving our family if you plan not to marry Obi." Her mother responded calmly, "Mother, father plans on stepping down as the king. It only means royalty has left the family. So, there is no point in all this. What you should be worried about is our kingdom. They have to heal, and no one will accept the daughter of the wicked to rule as their queen, especially when father himself has decided to step down." Her mother nodded as a shock of realization hit her. Royalty was truly leaving their family, but she smiled at the thought of having her family back. "I am sorry, my dear. I didn't understand you at first. You are right, we should focus on the people more," the queen said. "Obi must not marry me. He can rule the kingdom with any woman he chooses. These past weeks of my life have been nothing but happiness. I enjoy the simplicity of life, and I don't wish to be royalty anymore. It has brought nothing but pain to my heart and to our family, Ola said to her mother in tears. Ola, her mother called, you are deserving of anything good, most especially Obi. He is a great man. He loves you, not out of pity, and you love him too. So why hold back your feelings for the past? You will be making a great mistake by letting go of such a man. You love him, and he loves you too. Ola shook her head in denial. I just said I pray for Obi to rule after father, and I plan on making the people see how pure he is and his interests. I don't want anything to do with royalty anymore. I want to be simple and enjoy the simple life other villagers get to have, not to bond my happiness again after this little freedom I have enjoyed. If Obi becomes the king, which I believe he will, then I will automatically be his queen, and I don't want that. It now pains me to be royalty. It brought this curse to my life for 25 years. This royalty brought odds to our family. I bear this curse all because of the greed and jealousy that come with it. Nina understood her daughter's worries, for there were times she also wished not being royalty each time she thought of the pains of staying away from her daughter. But as she watched her daughter sit on her bed with her carefree behavior, indeed, she understood that living a simple life was best. Her mother embraced her as she poured out her heart before sleeping. In the tranquility of her mother's embrace, Ola found a semblance of peace. She was torn between the love she felt for Obi and the fear of repeating the past. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was undeserving of such happiness. Her mind wandered back to the moments when the curse was at its strongest, reminding her of the burdens of royalty. The thought of bringing that upon Obi weighed heavily on her heart. Meanwhile, Obi, back in his quarters, pondered over Ola's reaction. He knew she needed time, but his heart ached for her acceptance. He understood the significance of the curse and the toll it had taken on her. Yet, his love for her was unwavering. He believed in her goodness and saw beyond her doubts. Obi resolved to be patient, to give her the space she needed, while silently vowing to prove his unwavering commitment. Meanwhile, the king, burdened by the weight of his past actions, called all his subjects to the village square. Standing before his people, he apologized with deep sincerity. I have taken from you out of anger and frustration, he began. I cannot undo the pain I have caused, but I promise you a new beginning. I return all the lands and belongings I unjustly seized. The villagers, initially shocked, gradually saw the honesty in his expression. The king continued, his voice heavy with emotion. I am stepping down from the throne. I took a position that was not mine, sacrificing the love and happiness of my family, and bringing pain to your hearts. As he spoke, whispers spread through the crowd, a mix of surprise and realization. Some began to suggest that Ola and her future husband should rule the village. The murmurs grew louder, becoming a clear demand. We want Ola as our queen and her husband as our king. They will rule with fairness and love. Overwhelmed with emotion, the king looked at his wife and daughter, tears welling up in his eyes. He felt blessed to have a daughter so cherished by all. The chants grew stronger. We want Ola as our queen and her husband as our king. Moved by the people's faith in her, Ola addressed them with tears in her eyes. Thank you for trusting me with such a great privilege to rule as your queen and for forgiving the royal family. However, I don't think I deserve this much from you, she said with tears falling from her eyes. She could not believe this much acceptance could come from them, most especially after all what her father did to them. You are all still healing from the pains caused by the royal family, and all we ask for is your forgiveness and acceptance. Her humility and sincerity touched the villagers deeply, enhancing their admiration for her even more. As she stood there, her heart full of gratitude, she realized that together, they could truly begin to heal and build a future filled with fairness and love. But there is still hope on the other side, she said, looking at the people who opened their eyes, unable to believe what the princess was about saying. We all need a fearless king who will rule with love and fairness, and that person is Obi, my father's personal advisor. He is the purest of heart in the entire kingdom, she said with her eyes scanning the faces of the assembled villagers. His reign will bring love and prosperity, something we have all longed for during these troubled times. The crowd murmured, exchanging glances, their curiosity piqued by her conviction. Obi has always put the needs of others before his own. He has faced adversity with unwavering courage, and his kindness knows no bounds. We need a leader who can guide us with compassion and integrity. Some of the villagers nodded in agreement, their skepticism beginning to wane. Sensing their shift, Ola pressed on. Under his leadership, we can rebuild our kingdom and heal the scars of the past. He is not only a brave warrior but also a wise and just man. His heart beats for every one of you, and he sees our struggles as his own. Obi, who had been silently observing the reconciliation, felt a surge of emotion. The princess' words and her appreciation for him filled his heart with joy. He silently thought to himself as Ola's words ran with wave of the crowd. He became more surprised on hearing the princess advocate so passionately for him to be their king. A bright smile spread across his face, his eyes filled with love as he gazed at her. With newfound determination, he stepped forward. "Look at him," Ola urged, gesturing towards Obi. "See the strength and compassion in his eyes. He has stood by me through every trial, and I know he will stand by all of us as we move forward. Together, we can usher in an era of peace and prosperity." The people, witnessing his resolve, felt a collective sense of relief. Here was the fearless man they had prayed for to overcome the previous king's wickedness. His mere presence radiated hope and promise, and Ola's heartfelt plea had struck a chord deep within them. Leaning closer to Ola, Obi whispered softly, "I already have plans of marriage in my heart and have been waiting for you to heal completely from the incident and to know yourself more. Even if you accept to be their queen, I will be their king, and you must not shift it over to me." Ola looked at him with sadness in her eyes, not wanting to give him news of her denial to be his bride in public. "I can only wed you, Ola," he said firmly, his hands caressing her face as he spoke. "You are a good man, Obi, and you don't deserve a woman like me as your wife." Her words were like needles piercing his heart. "Who said so? Let me judge for myself. I have always loved you, and I know you love me. So what's stopping us?" he asked, his expression desperate. "Obi," she called gently, trying to calm him down, seeing the desperation on his face. "I don't want anything to do with royalty anymore. I want to live a life away from its burdens, pains, and suffering. These past weeks have been nothing but happiness. You are going to be a king and I don't wish to go down that life again." Obi shook his head in disagreement. "You are getting it all wrong, Ola," he said, looking into her eyes. "Don't underestimate our love. I will never compromise your feelings, nor will I be happy to rule without you by my side. We are not going to rule like your father. You said it all earlier, I will not only rule with love and justice, but I will make our home happy. I will give you more than the joy you have experienced these past days. You will never have a reason to cry or feel sad, for I will always be there. That's a promise I am giving to you. I know you had a difficult childhood, but it was never caused by royalty, but by the heart of a man who was willing to go to any extent for power." He saw tears flow more from Ola's eyes as she listened to him. "That man is not me. Your father and I can never be the same. I might be his personal advisor, but that is in the affairs of the kingdom which he always give deaf ears. We will both rule as one. I can't even see myself living a life without you in it." Ola's face lit up with a bright smile as she wiped off her tears, listening to his undying promises and devotion to her. "You trusted me with the people, why not try trusting me with your fears and desires? I swear to fulfill." His words were cut short by Ola. "I will marry you," she said, crying more. "I trust you more than anyone, more than even myself. You are a man of your words and you don't have to swear to me. You just have to say it and I know you will keep to it. I will be your wife." The queen watched from her seat, trying hard to hear what they were talking about but could only catch Obi's masculine voice. She silently prayed in her heart for Obi to convince her into marrying him. "Thank you," Obi said, embracing her tightly. Their exchange did not go unnoticed, and the crowd buzzed with excitement and speculation about their future union. Obi then addressed the crowd, his voice resonating with sincerity. "It is an honor to serve you. Whether Ola is your queen or she asks me to be your king, it changes nothing. I already harbor plans of making her my bride." His declaration spread through the crowd like wildfire, sparking jubilant cheers. He promised to rule fairly, with the princess by his side. The chief priest, observing the scene, smiled knowingly, aware of the sacrifice Obi had made for Ola and the joy he had brought to the kingdom. The king and queen, witnessing the genuine acceptance of the people toward Ola and Obi's union, felt their hearts swell with pride and joy. The kingdom, united under new and compassionate leadership, looked forward to a future filled with love, prosperity, and fairness. Ola and Obi, deeply in love, united in marriage, they ruled their kingdom with wisdom and compassion. They focused on healing past wounds and implementing fair policies, which led to a prosperous and contented kingdom. Ola, initially feeling unworthy, found her stride as a beloved queen. Their happiness grew when Ola became pregnant and gave birth to twins, Akin and Ada, bringing immense joy to their family and the kingdom. Ola's parents, overjoyed, embraced their roles as doting grandparents. The palace, once filled with political strife, became a haven of love and laughter. Ola and Obi balanced ruling with family life, teaching their children values of kindness and justice. As their children grew, they prepared them for future leadership. Their reign ended with a grand celebration, as the people honored their legacy of peace and prosperity. In the twilight of their lives, Ola and Obi found peace, knowing they had made a difference. Their story, marked by love and justice, became a cherished legend, inspiring future generations. Their legacy lived on through their son, Akin, who was ready to lead the kingdom into a new era of hope and prosperity. As Ola and Obi, now old, sat behind their chambers, they reflected on their family and their remarkable journey together. Ola realized just how lucky they both were to find each other. Obi had kept his promise, always staying by her side. She praised him openly, lauding his unwavering ability to care for their family while skillfully ruling the kingdom. The other kingdoms who once doubted the wicked king's personal advisor ruling alongside his daughter soon changed their minds, Ola said with a chuckle. They witnessed how our kingdom thrived with love and prosperity under your rule. Obi smiled, his eyes twinkling with affection. I always believed that a kingdom could be governed with peace and love. Never once did we go to war or face troubles, because I knew there was always another way. Ola nodded, recalling the many times he had sought forgiveness from other kings wronged by her father. Your heart is filled with peace and love, my dear. You showed everyone that true strength lies not in harboring hatred or waging wars, but in seeking reconciliation and understanding. Listening to his wife's appreciative words, Obi felt his heart swell with love. I couldn't have done it without you by my side, Ola. Your wisdom and compassion guided me just as much as my resolve. Her eyes sparkled as she replied, and your strength and kindness have always been my anchor. Obi took her hand, holding it gently. Do you remember when we first started this journey? We were so uncertain about what the future held. Yes, Ola reminisced, I was so afraid of stepping into the role of a queen, especially after everything that had happened. But you reassured me, and together, we overcame every obstacle. The king looked at her with admiration. You know, if we were to write a story about our love and journey, it would have to be titled The King's Advisor and His Endless Desires for the Snake Princess. Ola laughed heartily, nodding her head in acceptance. That's perfect, she agreed. It captures everything, our struggles, our triumphs, and the unending love we share. The moral lesson of this tale is that love, compassion, and just leadership can heal past mistakes and lead to a prosperous future. Ola's father's mistakes, rooted in greed and jealousy, brought a curse upon their family, showing the destructive power of selfishness and poor leadership. In contrast, Obi's pure heart and fair governance demonstrate the importance of ruling with empathy and justice. Ola's journey to self-acceptance and the couple's nurturing of their children highlight the value of recognizing one's worth and the importance of family legacy. The tale teaches that while past mistakes can cause suffering, they can be overcome through love, fairness, and commitment to the greater good, emphasizing the need to learn from the past to build a better future. And this brings us to the end of our story. If you enjoyed the story, and would love to see more of our interesting African tales, please don't forget to subscribe, and to turn on your notification button, so you will be first to get notified each time we drop a new story. Thank you for watching. We are excited to see your comments and likes, for they serve as a motivation to our channel.